Sitting at the end of a fire again. Gun love, gun love, gun love. She's a real gun lover. Gun love, gun love, gun love. She's a real gun lover tonight. She's so particular. She likes to slip and rest on her coat.
If I ever kill you, you'll be awake. You'll be facing me, and you'll be armed.
I'm unarmed? Good.
Mal.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to Lock and Load.
The May 13th edition of Lock and Load Radio. Special in-house guest, Shannon, the fabulous Shannon Alford, has been running around several states in the last couple days, and has joined us. So we will have a good time with her. And thank you, Mike Doherty, for coming out and running the board and doing what you do. We'll start the show with the standard disclaimer. Unless specifically stated, all opinions expressed on this show belong to the person coming out of who is making the comments, and not necessarily any organization, company, group of people that they may otherwise represent. If they're speaking for that organization, they will say so. There was something else I was supposed to do. What was it?
That's pretty much the beginning of it.
Okay, so now you're going to.
The only thing that I was going to say is, so we are here on Wednesday evening of the National Police Week. So tonight is traditionally the night that a lot of officers are gathered down at the memorial down in DC to start the candlelight vigil, which will be starting soon. So we figured we'd take a moment and do a brief moment of silence as soon as I get something queued up here.
Yeah, not always quick. Go ahead. I'm filling time for you. See.
So we're going to take a moment of silence. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Montgomery County firefighters, pipes and drums. The tune is Going Home at the Halt Slow March.
Very nice.
So full attribution on that one. That was the Montgomery County firefighters, pipes and drums from Montgomery County, Maryland. This group I'm actually trying to get involved with, but they do a lot of. They're part of the massed bands that do a lot of fire and rescue and law enforcement memorial stuff here in the area. So.
Okay. All right. Well, we keep keeping you busy, so you have a tough time learning bagpipes as long as we keep giving you jobs. So.
I was going to say, there's a kind of a conflict there to practices for that group or tonight. And
Oh, that's a problem. Oh,
That is kind of a problem.
It is kind of a problem. Okay, so we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. I'm going to start on Marilyn Mosby. I'm going to start there, and then we will go from the bad to the good.
So I'm going to drop out of the verbal conversation on this one since I'm not allowed to comment on it for other reasons. So you guys have fun.
Yeah. So there's an article that appeared in the Daily Caller. Marilyn Mosby appeared on stage with Prince during Ode to Freddie Gray. Marilyn Mosby and her husband Nick Mosby, who is a Baltimore City councilman, by the way, from the Western District where Freddie Gray was killed and I think lived actually, sat on a couch on stage during Prince's Rally for Peace benefit concert, according to the Baltimore Sun. While Mosby did not speak to the audience during the concert, her appearance comes just 2 days after the cops in the case filed motions of dismissal and recusal. The officers claim that Mosby has several personal, political, and professional conflicts of interest, and that she should remove herself from the case and allow a special prosecutor to take over. And by the way, that special prosecutor, in my opinion, needs to come from somewhere outside of Baltimore. Don't know how they do that, but that's my opinion. According to the Sun, Mosby's husband gave her the tickets for the concert as Mother's Day gift. She said, it says, even before appearing on stage, Mosby has been accused of statements that were seen as prejudiced against the criminal justice system. Quote, "I heard your call for no justice, no peace," Mosby said when she announced the charges against the officers. Another example of Mosby's alleged bias came 2 days before she announced the charges, and as the case was still being investigated. The 35-year-old prosecutor told a group of church leaders, "The criminal justice system has historically and disproportionately affected so many communities of color, and what we're seeing right now when we turn on the news and we open up the newspaper is that frustration." Not for nothing, but I said this last week, Billy Murphy is also the family's, I guess, civil attorney. But nevertheless, he was on Marilyn Mosby's transition team and a heavy benefactor to her campaign. So I got some issues here, and she needs to recuse herself. And frankly, if she doesn't, I think she should be taken out to the woodshed. That's my opinion. I know you had an opinion on the concert.
I do have an opinion on the concert. I would, however, just like to point out that, I've received concert tickets as gifts before, and I never got to sit on stage on a couch with the performers. So I want to know how you buy those kind of tickets.
Apparently. Okay.
Yeah.
But
no, my opinion is that it's an absolute travesty that Prince let someone else sing the first verse of Purple Rain, because that's just not acceptable.
There you go. So, good day yesterday.
Great day yesterday. Awesome day.
Yep. Sorry you all couldn't join us. We were in Annapolis.
It was a lot of fun.
It was fun. And the cards were good too.
Yeah, I think we had the waiter and several other people just going, "What is going on?"
So we'll get to that. But so the day started out with everybody running late, but running over to the State House, the 2A crew, as it were, and running over to the State House, and the baiting bill was signed.
The very, very warm building, because I think they only had the air conditioning turned on in the governor's office.
That was nothing. We have been in there before, and we've been sweating. I mean, it was actually fairly comfortable considering.
Yeah, well, they had the air conditioning turned very, very low down in the governor's reception room, because anytime you have that many people in any room, it's going to be raising the temperature by a couple of degrees, and they wanted to make sure that the governor and legislative officers were at least somewhat comfortable. Yeah. But the State House was packed, and it was always an interesting cattle call event for a bill signing. For probably everyone who has never attended a bill signing. They fill the State House lobby
It is a
with
cattle call,
anyone and everyone, lobbyists,
Advocates.
interested parties, advocates, members of the public, anyone who's interested in any of the bills being signed fills the State House lobby. And then they announce the bills that are to be signed in the order that they're to be signed. And then you get to go upstairs and wait in another line to witness the ceremonial signing and get photo ops with the governor and the legislative leadership. But it's a great day. It's a great event. And we got to witness some pretty fantastic legislation get signed. And the 2A community came out ahead in Maryland.
We did.
For the first time in a long time.
Yay.
So the governor signed the bill that was sponsored by Senator Astle and cross-filed by Delegate Beitzel to eliminate strict liability for waterfowl baiting for all you the waterfowl hunters out there. And so moving forward, when that bill goes into effect October 1, so in time for next season,
Thank God.
you will have to have knowledge of bait being present in order to be charged with baiting. So that
or the reasonable expectation that you should have known.
That you should have known.
If the bait's in front of your goose pit, then you should have known.
Exactly. So that's excellent. And then the big one, the big shiny bright beacon of light.
Yes.
The Senate Bill 736, sponsored by Senator Riley, and it's important to note the cross file, sponsored by Delegate Howard.
Yes, Seth Howard, out of Anne Arundel County. Both of them out of the same district, by the way.
Yes, both of them out of Anne Arundel County, was signed by the governor, and that bill eliminates the shell casing ballistic imaging program in the state of Maryland. So
no more ballistic fingerprints.
Exactly. Moving forward, manufacturers will no longer be required to submit fired shell casings for firearms sold in the state of Maryland.
And nor will we have to make sure that an FFL 07 takes care of it for those manufacturers that don't do it now.
Exactly. And no longer will the cost be passed on to the consumer. And no longer will all that shelf space in Maryland State Police headquarters be used to store casings in boxes.
And the staff that was assigned to this program is now working in the forensics division doing more important work.
Actual crime solving work.
Which has a much greater percentage of solving crimes. So yes, it was a very good day. We had a nice day for it too. It was a little hot, but it was a nice day. I'd take yesterday over today, any day of the week. But it was a nice day, and we had friends come down, and we had nice lunch and celebrated, and then Shannon and I spent the night and celebrated some more, and played Cards Against Humanity. And if you haven't played, you really must. And if you don't know what it is, go play, go find out.
So just a quick callback from the chat room. Evicted Canine, who I haven't seen in the chat room before, so welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Why can't that go into effect immediately? Well, so in Maryland, in general, laws are written in one of two ways. A standard bill goes into effect on October 1st. An emergency bill goes into effect on July 1st, unless there's some special circumstance that requires it to be going ahead of time. But the general calendar dates are either October 1st or July 1st. This one was a standard legislation. So,
and an emergency bill has a higher threshold to cross in terms of votes. Now,
I did not know that.
Yes, both of those pieces of legislation received more than overwhelming majority, so it would not have been a problem.
Right.
But yes, to pass an emergency bill, you need a supermajority.
I did not know that. 8 years, 10 years, however many down. I did not know that. And if it is a true emergency bill, then they have to stipulate the day in the bill that the bill is going to take effect. In the case of the ballistics program, you can't just shut it down the day that you can't just say, "Oh, the governor's going to sign this on this day, and therefore it'll be shut down." I mean, they need time.
Keep in mind that a statute is the permitting language in the legal structure. They have to have the executive departments have to have time to put the regulations in place that affect it. In this particular case, they have to be able to go back to the regulations and take them out. So there's milestones that they have to go through for that. There's always the potential somebody could throw a gasket and throw the regulations in front of AELR.
And in the case of the ballistics imaging bill, the bill also included authorizing language for MSP to destroy or otherwise dispose of the existing shell casings that are already stored at the MSP facility. So,
sarcasm.
Yes, we can't all drive up there and go, give me some so I can reload. We can't do that.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was a really great day. We had a good time. We had good weather, and then Shannon went off to Delaware today.
I did.
And anything interesting happening in Delaware?
Well, a couple of interesting things are going on in Delaware right now. There are two bills, two bad bills that are out there. Both of them were originally scheduled to be heard by the Judiciary Committee. Now, Delaware, as opposed to Maryland, Delaware, not every bill gets a hearing. In Maryland, no matter what the bill, it will always have a hearing. It may not have a vote, but it will always have a hearing.
Right.
In Delaware, not every bill gets a hearing. And so there were two bills that were scheduled to be heard and then were removed from the committee hearing schedule. So they are still alive. They are still out there. But at the moment, they're not moving. One of those is Senate Bill 68, and that deals with information that is provided online on websites that are directed towards children.
Oh my God, what a broad category that is.
Exactly. And the bill is intended to prevent children from having products harmful to children being marketed towards them. And the definitions of this bill of products harmful to children included firearms, ammunition, and firearms training programs. And for an example, the website for U.S. Shooting, which is the governing body for the Olympic sport of shooting, includes a youth page, obviously directed towards youth. The bill defines children. The youths. What is a youth?
What's a youth?
A youth. The bill defines children as minors, as anyone under the age of 18. And that page, again, dedicated to the governing body of an Olympic sport, includes advertisements for ammunition and firearms, as one might expect. And so this legislation would make it illegal to have such advertisement on a page that is directed towards children. The NRA Insights page, which is the magazine that is given to NRA junior members, includes information on finding an NRA instructor in your area, firearms training courses, a safety course. We want children to learn how to be safe and to use and handle firearms safely and with respect. But the terms of this bill would not allow us to do that. That bill, again, is not currently on the committee agenda. Obviously, there's a lot of people who have a lot of problems with this bill. Obviously, there's a couple of issues with perhaps the First Amendment out there.
Well, I have a question. So go back to the beginning of the bill.
Yes.
Things that are not safe for children.
Products harmful to children.
Okay, so I used to be a teacher. I've taught in Catholic schools. I've taught in Southeast DC. I have taught in probably one of the poorest schools that Prince George's County has. And I've taught in nice suburban schools with not upper income, but upper middle income kids. And invariably every year there is a pair of scissors. Those are inherently dangerous to children because, they cut themselves or they get...
Ice cream leads to obesity. That's dangerous to children.
So, pencils, boys are forever stabbing each other with pencils.
Compasses.
Right?
Compass. When I was in high school, the compasses got distributed by the teacher when we needed to draw circles and then gathered up at the end of class.
Correct.
Because we might stab each other with them.
So if I want to go to a website that has pencils and scissors on it, this would be a bad thing in Delaware.
Pencils and scissors are not defined in the bill as being products harmful to children.
Oh, and so what is their definition of of harmful to products that are harmful to children?
I don't have the complete definition in
Okay.
front of me, but
Okay.
I can tell you that apparently firearms ammunition and firearms training courses. But yeah, obviously there's a lot of folks who have a problem with the bill. Right now, the bill is still alive.
Yeah.
What's the bill number?
Senate Bill 68. And the other bill that's out there in Delaware, while you're looking that up, is Senate Bill 83. This bill is a huge problem.
Okay. Oh, yes.
This bill
I know what bill this is.
would put in a prohibited category, would disqualify you from firearms possession or ownership. Anyone who is subject to what in Delaware is termed a protection from abuse order, a protective order.
I'm sorry, this is a funny bill. It's not a funny bill, but
And okay, people who are convicted of domestic violence crimes are federally prohibited. People who are subject to protective orders are prohibited. This bill, however, would expand those prohibitions to persons subject to ex parte protection from abuse orders. Now, an ex parte order is issued
after the fact,
at the discretion of the judge,
right?
one-sided. So here's
Before the hearing.
before a hearing. So here's an example. If I am in a relationship and my partner has been abusive to me for the course of the relationship, and I finally get up the nerve to defend myself, and we're having an argument, and he calls me a vile name, and I slap him for it, which
Okay.
is perhaps not appropriate, but a reasonable, I think, and not totally unreasonable or
Like the
unexpected
C word?
response.
Like
Yeah,
he called you the C word.
like if he calls me the C word and
Got
I
it.
slap him for it,
Okay.
after he has abused me both verbally, emotionally, and physically for the course of our relationship, he could, under the terms of this order, go to a commissioner, not even necessarily a judge, but he goes to court and says, she hit me. She hit me. I hereby swear that she hit me. And I would like a protection from abuse order. I, under the terms of this legislation, am not only not aware that the hearing is taking place at all, that he has gone and asked for this order, but I have no opportunity to present evidence in my own defense. I have no opportunity to retain counsel. And it will be 10 days until I have an opportunity to go before the judge
Oh my
and
God.
present evidence in my own defense. If the judge agrees to his
Oh.
version of the story and swears out an ex parte order, at that point, I am now prohibited and am obligated to surrender to law enforcement all of my firearms and ammunition, thus giving my abuser a lovely 10-day window in which he is fully aware of the fact that I am totally disarmed
Unarmed.
to come and do whatever he likes to punish me for my behavior.
And that's a realistic example. But if I were going to take this to an extreme, you and I, is this the bill that I heard about that if you have a social relationship?
This is the other part of the bill.
Okay.
It also expands those domestic violence protections, not only to persons with whom you are married, cohabiting, or share a child,
Mhm.
but also to persons with whom you have had what the bill calls a substantive dating relationship. The bill does not define substantive dating relationship. It just ill defines it. It says what it's not. It's not a casual social relationship. It's not a casual acquaintance, but it never says exactly what constitutes a substantive dating relationship, with whom, and that relationship could have existed at any point in the past 5 years. And the behavior necessary to get such an order is also expanded to, quote, behavior designed to cause emotional distress. I'm calling it the breakup bill. If I am
Yeah.
in a dating relationship with somebody and we break up, and then
He was mean to me.
he was mean to me, he said things that were terrible.
He said I was ugly and my mother dressed me funny.
Exactly. That person is now subject to potentially being prohibited and required to surrender their firearms to law enforcement with absolutely no custodial obligations on the part of law enforcement to make sure that your incredibly valuable personal property is properly cared for, There is absolutely nothing prohibiting them from throwing your $13,000 shotgun into an evidence locker next to a bag of pot.
Sorry.
There is no option to...
My Montefeltro Lust gun is not $13,000, but...
There is no requirement, there is no option for you to perhaps consign your firearms to an FFL because you are now facing potentially devastating legal fees to defend yourself. There is no option for you to give them to a third party who is uninterested and not otherwise prohibited. Here, let me give them to my brother-in-law.
Right.
And the real clincher of this is that it is also obligating you under state law to hand over evidence against yourself in a criminal case, because
how is that even legal? Fifth Amendment protections.
Good
right?
point.
Right?
Because federal law regarding domestic violence misdemeanors and protective orders says that as soon as the gavel comes down, you are prohibited. Federal law does not envision any kind of a grace period for you to figure out what to do with those firearms you have in your possession. And you can't just direct someone else to dispose of your firearms because that's constructive possession. At the point that the gavel comes down under federal law, you are absolutely prohibited. So if you, for example, are following the state law that says you have 24 hours to hand them over to law enforcement, and you dutifully get in your car, load up all your firearms, drive down to the police barracks and hand them over, you have just handed over evidence against yourself in a federal crime. And this happened in a case in California where a person was, he purchased firearms in the 80s. He had issues in the early 90s. In 1996, the federal law that made domestic violence misdemeanors and protective orders prohibiting passed, and it was made retroactive. He was not aware of the fact that he was now prohibited under the terms of the 1996 law. And in the 2000s, he became subject to a protective order. He dutifully went to the sheriff's office, handed over his firearms, and was then subsequently charged by federal prosecutors with possession of firearms as a prohibited person, based on the fact that he had handed over his firearms to law enforcement.
Oh, my God. How'd that case end up?
Unfortunately, the conviction was upheld. Wow. Ninth Circuit.
Oh, my God.
So that is legislation that we are fighting tooth and nail. We are absolutely opposed to this legislation. It completely eliminates any sense of due process. NRA absolutely believes that domestic abusers should not have firearms. However, an ex parte order is not
due process.
Due process. It is not evidence of concrete evidence with a finding of fact and law that you are in fact a domestic abuser. This bill completely ignores due process, and no empirical evidence has been presented by anyone to indicate that there is some kind of underlying problem with the current law in Delaware that needs to be addressed. So this is legislation that we are absolutely opposed to, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that it does not move forward.
I did a quick breeze through. You can also be there's nothing in there that limits the law enforcement community from doing whatever with your firearms, but they can charge you.
Yes, that law enforcement, once you've surrendered your firearms to law enforcement, they can charge you a storage fee, which may very well, on the other end of the spectrum from the $13,000 shotgun, far outweigh the value of the firearms. And law enforcement has the opportunity to dispose of the firearms without remanding the profits to you. Sounds to me like an illegal taking.
Sounds to me like a criminal version of the RICO, not the RICO standards, but the money laundering statutes too.
Okay.
Same thing. Just like there's a couple like 2A in Maryland, guilty till proved innocent.
Yep. Pretty much.
Absolutely.
And from another one, due process be damned. Libtard's going to protect you from everything.
Yeah, boy.
from our big son bitch.
Yeah, boy. before I get too far away from this, and since you're talking, we're not talking about Delaware. I'm shifting gears really quickly. Liking one of your former, your alma mater professors very much today. There's an article titled "Rawlings Blake Defends Handling of Baltimore Rioting." And of course, it's the Baltimore Sun, so you all can imagine. I don't need to explain this. And it's on the Baltimore Sun, and that was the title. And the author is, let me just give due credit before somebody yells at me, Luke Broadwater, Aaron Cox, and Yvonne Wenger. And Todd Eberly, who is a professor at St. Mary's.
Go Seahawks.
Did you have him, by the way?
No, he was not there when I was a student.
I think it would have been fun to have him because I've read a bunch of stuff that he writes and I really enjoy him. And he says, quote, "To say overwhelmingly the demonstrations were peaceful and then there was only one night of rioting is like saying right up until Lincoln got shot, he had a great time at the play." I thought that was perfect. He goes on to say no one is focused on what happened before the rioting. The key is what happened once it became clear that the situation was out of control. Nobody suggested to militarize the situation when the protests were peaceful. But I forgot to do that quote before. And so anyway, I wanted to get back to that because it is your alma mater, but it was an awesome quote. It was an awesome quote.
I did not ever have the privilege of having him, but I have met him and he's pretty entertaining guy to talk to.
Yeah, he's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
So,
St. Mary's College of Maryland managed to produce a conservative.
There's
a handful of them.
One of my favorite young now college Republicans. But I was telling you earlier, the kid that founded the Teenage Republicans in this county founded it, pulled the kids together, had meetings, did stuff. Okay, and Wilhelm goes to St. Mary's. A terrific kid. His parents are awesome. As a matter of fact, his mother's the principal over at the high school here. And then he went on to be the Teenage Republican president for the state. And yes, he's a poli-sci major over there. So I imagine he's run across Todd a time or two.
Probably.
So, yeah, I'll have to call Andrew and say, you need to introduce me. Okay, so that's Delaware. I believe I got a couple of. Is that your phone? Whose phone is that?
That's you.
Well,
Mine's on silent.
Well, it shouldn't be me because I'm not getting any text messages, and since I'm looking at my Facebook, it's not me. This must be Shannon.
I just know it's not me.
No, there you go. So we had a bunch of stuff that came up from the NRA, and a couple things I put in Miss Shannon's pile, but this one was actually put into the Washington Times. Has to do with the NRA though. Mom sues school board for teens arrest suspension over NRA shirt. A West Virginia mother is suing. By the way, the article was written by Jessica Chasmar for the Washington Times and published today. A West Virginia mother is suing County Board of Education for violating her son's constitutional rights after he's charged and suspended for wearing an NRA t-shirt to school. Tanya Lardieri, I guess, filed the lawsuit in federal court on behalf of her son, Jared Markham, who was charged in 2013 for disrupting the educational process and obstructing a police officer after he refused to turn his NRA t-shirt inside out. And I saw the picture of the t-shirt. It's that olive green one. So it's not even like loud and disruptive. I mean, it's all kind of muted tones and this, that, and the other thing. A judge later dismissed the charges, but the school still forced Jared to serve a one-day suspension. The lawsuit claims that Jared was waiting in line in the school's cafeteria when he was physically stopped by the school secretary, Anita Gore, who placed her hand on his chest and prevented him from moving forward. The Logan Banner, which is the local paper, reported. Now, this is my wheelhouse. This is education and guns, okay? She's the school secretary. She has no authority. She has no authority. She does not act in loco parentis, okay? She's not covered by that. Okay, which is the Latin term for in lieu of the parents.
Right.
Okay. Furthermore, she should never have laid her hand on him. I don't care if she injured him or not. She should, you're damn right, this parent needs to be suing. She should never have laid her hands on it. The lawsuit says Mrs. Gore told Jared that he had to turn his shirt inside out or face suspension. After the teen refused, a teacher, David Burraway, hauled him off to the principal's office by his arm. What the hell is going on in West Virginia? By his arm, according to the lawsuit, the Logan Banner. The teen was later charged with obstruction of justice because he refused to keep quiet after the officer ordered him to stop talking. Well, he's a teenager. And if you haven't had a teenager yet, you'll know. They're all inherently stupid, but they think they know everything. So he was charged with obstruction of justice. The family is seeking $200,000 in compensatory damages and $250,000 in punitive damages for alleged violations of Jared's First and 14th Amendment rights. Go Tanya Lardieri. That's all I have to say. I'd have been suing on the fact that they laid their hand on my kid. I mean, don't touch my kid.
I'm racking my brain trying to think if anybody ever had a problem with me wearing an NRA shirt to school when I was in high school.
Lily has asked if she can wear various shirts to school, and I keep going like this. Like, it is Queen Anne's County and they're fairly reasonable people, but what if? Do I really want to have to make that phone call? Because the phone call is either going to Sterling or it's going to Elkton. And I don't know if I want to have to make those phone calls. So we save it for other places.
I do know that when I was a senior in high school, everyone was required to do a science project. And I requested for my science project that I wanted to do my own checking of the ballistics tables and measure muzzle drop as a factor of measure bullet drop as a factor of muzzle velocity.
Okay.
And I had a range and I had RO and I had a chronograph and it was going to be awesome. And the school district IRB told me that I could not do the project because it was encouraging violence.
First of all, go back to IRB.
The Institutional Review Board is
what state was this?
This was in Virginia. This is most school districts and all colleges are going to have something called an Institutional Review Board, and they review proposed experiments to make sure that all participants are being appropriately handled, that you're not trying to put your baby sister in a Skinner box or something like that. That you are going to appropriately deal with your subjects if you're using animals, that you're going to appropriately deal with your subjects if you're using human subjects. And so all science projects had to go through the Institutional Review Board. And they said no. So instead I built a suspension bridge and then I collapsed it.
Okay.
Awesome.
I need to check this link. Mike, while I check this.
I just pulled it up. I didn't play any of it, but it's a minute and 34-second clip from ABC.
Play it. Introduce him and play it.
Okay.
He's a friend.
For the chat room,
switching gears.
One of our members from it would help for my microphone. One of our members from our favorite forums is going through some issues with MSP, and in the chat room, somebody posted a link. There is an ABC News clip. It's about a minute and 34 seconds, according to this. So we will go ahead and pop it in here.
Okay.
And see.
Agent might not come to mind, but the very...
There, we'll start it again from the beginning.
That'd be good.
When you think about jobs that put lives on the line, real estate agent might not come to mind, but the very people who sell us our homes are increasingly becoming the targets of some violent attacks. Here's ABC's Rebecca Jarvis.
Tonight, 25-year-old Amelia Barcenas is in jail after allegedly luring a realtor to this home by posing as a home buyer, then pulling a gun. The realtor managed to escape, notifying police.
She's stating that the female did point the gun at her.
This is the police dispatcher's call to the responding officer.
She told the caller to zip tie her hands together and wanted her to go to the bank and get money.
The realtor says she refused, and when Barcenas put the gun down, the realtor ran to a nearby house. But not every realtor is so lucky. Many agents showing houses are often alone and vulnerable. In the last 10 years, more than 20 real estate agents have been murdered, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Hey, morning, Trace.
Janice Tisdale knows the fear. The San Antonio grandmother and realtor was attacked by someone posing as a customer before being rescued by passersby.
I was screaming. I just thought, you're dead, Janice. You are dead.
Nowadays, when Janice shows her properties, she brings this Beretta Tomcat. A reminder that the old rules of real estate still apply. It's all about location, location, location. Not getting caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Rebecca Jarvis, ABC News, Washington.
So not specifically about our particular instant case for the folks that we know, but we do have
we're in handcuffs and
individuals that, ABC News continuing their broadcast. We do know, both there's multiple people that have tried and failed to get through MSP's application process. And a lot of us know of one specific individual who's involved in trying to get MSP to review his application and going through a lot of lovely hoops to try to get this thing to work out. Despite the fact that the recent PIA shows that there are 233 realtors in the state of Maryland in current possession of an active permit to carry in some form or another. So we don't know what the restrictions are that are applied to it. We don't know the good and substantial reason behind it, behind those 233, but there are 233 realtors that have successfully done it. And now this one realtor is getting dragged through.
Right. Hell, which, sorry.
It's just sort of one more example of the arbitrary and capricious nature of the process to get a carry permit in the state of Maryland. And my husband and I are in the process of buying a house right now. And fortunately in the state of Virginia, which is a shell issue state. But yeah, I mean, more than once while I was out house hunting with my real estate agent, again, more than once, my real estate agent was like, okay, before we go into this house, make sure you're strapped because this isn't the best neighborhood, or because, the man is out there a lot. He's got instincts and he's like, something is making me nervous. And you'd be surprised what you see when you're going out looking at houses. I mean, people still in the house, even though you called. They know you're coming. They know you're coming, and they're still in the house, and they're sitting in their living room on their couch staring at you the whole time. Creepy. Seriously creepy. But again, yeah, we're driving around, and he's like, yeah, okay, so we're on the way to your house, and just so you know, that's the 7-Eleven where that guy got shot the other day. And it's like, oh, okay, let's not look at that house.
Maybe move on. Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to strange neighborhoods. They're meeting people that they don't know. They're typically alone. They often carry around large checks from one location to another.
And apparently, even Hollywood knows this. There have been several movies. Well, I know I can think of one television show and one movie right off the bat where the premise was real estate agent goes into house and
bad things happen.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, even Hollywood is aware, and it's, for ABC News to be like, I mean, it's timely, and I did send our friend the link, so maybe he can play that at his appeal.
So the links were provided to folks in our chat room by him. So.
Okay.
They were requesting that we put them out there.
Oh, I didn't realize they came from our friend. I thought they came from.
I'm assuming that
Goat Tack a GT. That's where I thought they came from.
So Shannon, you had a question, a follow-up from Evicted Canine. So why are you looking in bad hoods?
Because I was looking in an area with which I was not immediately familiar. And when I got there and I realized it was a bad hood, we moved on.
There you go. There you go. So,
because the houses are cheap.
And there's a reason.
And there's a reason.
Well, but you don't know until you get there. It could be.
You don't necessarily know until you get there, because that's the other thing that I learned while house hunting is that real estate photographers are evil magicians.
Yes, I could agree with that one.
And they will make a house look beautiful in the online listing, and then you get there and you're going, oh my God.
Don't think so.
Well, first off, they make it look beautiful and huge, and then you get there and it's a rundown shoebox.
Yes.
Send me the link for the
Yes.
show, and I will listen on my way home. Okay, well, Tim, it's okay. All right.
And they've managed to crop out the neighbors.
I can say I've got it prepped up. I'll just send it to him on Facebook.
Okay, yeah, please.
Crop out the neighbors with the broken bathtub in the yard, the rusted out Chevy on block.
Oh God. And you know they'll leave that there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. So yeah, I saw some interesting houses when we were looking for houses. There was one house where the price was a little bit better. Well, because it had the 1970s crackle gold wallpaper on it with the velour stripes in it. Yes, it was and red, by the way, red velour. Yes, because red gold. So yes, thought that was fascinating. So yeah, and I don't get it. And in particular with this guy, he is not an employee. He is a contractor.
No,
He's not even a
contractor. He's an independent business owner.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's self-employed.
Thank you for the clarification. What else? Okay. I have things, but I'm down to my last two, and you all have your little homework assignments, so.
Little homework assignment.
Oh, I left mine across the room.
Well, I'll tell you.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was supposed to bring it with me.
Can you bring more coffee?
Yes.
Okay. It's not coffee, but I got yelled at by my father, so we're now drinking coffee.
So
if he's listening, we're drinking coffee, Daddy. Go ahead.
So one of the ones that I found while looking around for stuff today.
Door.
An article from WMAL. It's actually, I think, attributed to CNN, but from MAL's webpage. Title of the article: Worries about Ferguson effect after police killed on duty jumps 90%. So, according to the article, newly released FBI statistics show the number of police officers purposely killed in the line of duty jumped nearly 90% in 2014. There were 27 line of duty deaths in 2013 and 51 line of duty deaths in 2014. The speculation about the division that has gone on, and that's about as far as I can take the comments on it. But the division that's gone on since some of the individuals that have been involved or
Did you want to just stop right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I have to, because I'm running up against the line that I can't cross.
Did you want to since she was tending the coffee and obviously looking over her homework, did you want to talk about Howard County so she can go get cream for her coffee?
Sure, I can talk about our lovely county executive.
I think we should do that, and I think this is a good time. Take your homework with you.
So I'm a little bit disappointed in County Executive Alan Kittleman from Howard County.
He's so nice about it. I'm pissed.
Well, I was trying to be somewhat professional.
I know.
I've met the guy. I mean,
I know him well.
So he just recently signed in.
Bye. You'll be back. Okay.
He just recently signed into law in Howard County, Council Bill 8-2015. Have not been able to find a clean version of the bill that shows all of the as amended changes. There were 2 successful amendments to it. But long story short, it bans the carrying of firearms in council or in county buildings on public property with very limited exceptions. One notable one from a conversation we were having at dinner last night. It exempts.
We talked about a lot of things.
It exempts the Howard County Circuit Court building from the bill. So there was a certain person we were enjoying dinner with a certain friend of ours.
There was a bunch of us at the table.
Whose response was, "That'll be interesting when I have to go there."
Mm-hmm.
So it exempts that building.
Someone who has to spend a lot of time.
And who has the conditions. So I'm disappointed in this one on multiple levels, not the least of which is the fact that it's an infringement. There is no exception in the bill for anybody who's gone through the rigmarole that is the Maryland process for getting a permit to carry in the state. It exempts law enforcement personnel. It exempts county employees who are required to carry a firearm in the pursuit of their business.
Can you give me an example of that?
I don't know. It's not listed in the bill.
Okay.
I mean, I could think, potentially. I don't know. I don't know whether they allow the dog catchers to carry or not. But
what about bail bondsmen and stuff like that?
Well, bail bondsman isn't a county employee though. Bail bondsman would be applying under good and substantial as a business owner, or as a bail agent. But there's no exemption in there for that. It's all for retired police officers, active law enforcement, those kind of things. Some of the things in here, there's I got this one from the Baltimore Sun, Amanda Yeager's article, had some quotes in here from him. It passed by a 4-1 vote in the city council, or I'm sorry, county council. For those that aren't aware, Howard County is 5 council districts, 1 Republican and 4 Democrats. The 4-1 is a veto-proof majority for anything that passes.
Bailiffs would be an example.
Well, yeah, bailiffs, but they're part of the county sheriff's office. So, yes, for security guards for armored cars and things like that, you can actually go to Howard County's Municode page, or I'm sorry, Howard County's page itself. It's I believe the link is cc.howardcountymaryland, meaning howardcountymd.gov. And you can look in the legislation. You're looking for CB Charlie Bravo 8-2015. I don't have the link readily available to post it in the chat, or I would. Kittleman struggled over whether to sign the bill into law, but ultimately was swayed by safety considerations. Quote, keeping county employees and residents safe is one of my top priorities. Currently, there are no prohibitions against bringing weapons into county buildings, and there is no question that we need to address this issue, end quote. So what really frosts my...
Is it 9 o'clock?
No. Frosts my backside on this one is last year I had the pleasure of working in the legislature. One of the days I took advantage of being there, and my kids are homeschooled. I brought my 4 children up for a school-based field trip to see the legislature in action, and I introduced them to all of both of their delegates and their senator. At the time, Mr. Kittleman was their senator. He sat in his office. We sat in his chairs, and he looked at my kids and eloquently stated how much of a supporter and defender of the Constitution he was.
Right.
And we do this stuff. And he's a defender. He knew one of my, I've been very vocal with all of my delegates and the senator the past several years. He knew one of my hot button issues is anything 2A related, and made a comment about the fact that the Second Amendment is important to us. He even makes it down here in the article, while I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, and while the bill is not without flaws, I believe it provides necessary protections to our dedicated employees and citizens. How the hell does this protect anything when criminals don't obey laws to begin with? It's the very definition of being a criminal. Not to mention the fact that every county building, I've been in a bunch of them, and I've been in every building in the county government complex in Ellicott City. None of them have magnetometers. The courthouse might. That's the only one I have not been in, is the actual circuit courthouse.
Happy to hear that.
But I think they have, I think the 2 courthouses do actually have magnetometers. The county council building does not. It's wide open. There's a nice little visitor's desk with 2 guys that are security, who are the 2 guys that are normally there. Very, very polite gentlemen. You can tell they were probably retired. They're retirees from something, doing a second job. They're not looking for weapons. They're not doing anything. They have nothing that shows that there's a weapon in the building. How do you protect an environment when you're saying, oh, you can't carry it, but we're not providing any mechanism to A, make sure that nothing gets in the building, or B, protect the citizens who can now no longer protect themselves, even if they've managed to jump through the hoops and get permission from the friggin' state.
Couple of comments in the chat room that I need to address. Bolt says, you're shocked a Maryland politician pandered to you and then repandered to
Absolutely
others.
not. I get that.
Actually, I will not make a giant statement about politicians. I've worked with too many of them. Here, put it in the trash. All right. So no, I'm gonna call bogus on that. Alan Kittleman is not a pandering kind of guy. I am actually surprised. I was very surprised to hear this. Would never have expected this from Alan Kittleman. Doesn't mean that I always agree with Alan Kittleman. There have been a number of issues that he has backed that I would never have backed. But he's always, as far as I know, been a really stand-up guy. So for him to make those statements to Mike and his children and then turn his back on them is upsetting for me and surprising, because that's not who he is. And in point of fact, his, I think, stepmother is Trent Kittleman. She sits on the House Judiciary Committee, and you'll recall
she's the freshman delegate from 9A.
And she's the one that made those brilliant comments, as far as I was concerned.
Yeah. On Gun Bill Day, I actually leaned forward to Shannon and said, I haven't had a chance to talk to her yet. I think I like my new delegate.
Yeah. Trent is awesome. So, and then not that because they're related, they should share the same views, but I've known Trent actually just slightly longer than I've known Alan, and Trent is, she's a pretty stand-up woman.
No, Trent, when I talked to her out in the hallway, actually did tell me that one of the reasons that she wanted to be involved was because of Alan and his stances, and they do substantially agree.
And his father, right? So, but I was really shocked that Alan would do such a thing. So hopefully he will see the light and realize that there are too many holes and too many problems with this bill, i.e., all the hoops we have to jump through currently to get a concealed carry permit. If I go into a county building, I shouldn't, my right shouldn't stop there, but we'll see what happens. We'll report back on that and let you know, about that. But, if you live in Howard County, do let, the county executive know how you feel about it. And if you have friends in Howard County, please politely let the county executive know how you feel about that. Let's see.
I got one that I sent late and you didn't get printed out.
Okay.
Just to cycle back a couple of months ago, actually probably about a little bit over a month ago, we talked about Rick Bailey, Navy veteran out in Glendale, Arizona.
Shannon, you can come back.
I'm ready for my coffee.
Okay.
We talked about Rick Bailey as Rick Bailey's a Navy veteran in Glendale, Arizona, who got his $25,000 collection confiscated by police
You're right, I don't have
for I don't remember the entire purposes, but I got an email earlier and looking online to follow this one up. Apparently, one of our other lovely organizations that sits on our side of the fence, the Second Amendment Foundation, stepped in, and he's apparently
I do have that.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's in my pile.
He apparently got them back. So
here you go.
you didn't tell me you printed it out.
Well, I never tell you I print everything out. I just print everything out. So you send it, I print it, and then I disperse according to whose interests or whatever. But yeah, so Second Amendment Foundation did a good job with that. Bogus.
So that kind of cycles back. I think there was, where was it? Yeah, it doesn't go into this article doesn't go. Oh, there's the backstory. This would be one of those ex parte type things. They got into a neighbor dispute. The neighbor reported the incident and got a harassment order sworn out against Mr. Bailey. And nothing really to do. And in some of the initial cases, it's like, really, you're getting a case for that,
right?
But
right. Hey, Shannon.
Hey, Andy.
What do you think about Jesse Jackson today?
I think Jesse Jackson needs to check the law books before he starts having rallies in Chicago.
Why would that be, Shannon?
Well, because the good Reverend.
The right Reverend, yes.
The right Reverend Jackson.
Actually, the left Reverend.
The left Reverend Jackson had one of his favorite events. He had a rally outside Chuck's Gun Shop in Riverdale, Illinois, and specifically said that at his rally.
Hold on one second. I need to address this right now. In the chat room, somebody has written, "Day one, Hogan, ring a bell." I'm going to call bullshit on that. It is 9 o'clock. I'm going to call bullshit on that. I have never heard that statement made by Hogan or any of his campaigns, and I have put this up on Facebook. I have never heard that. I was county coordinator for Hogan. So please stop putting that out there. I love you. I appreciate you. You guys are wonderful, but it was never said. It was a nice thing. So this business of from day one, I never heard it. And I was in meetings that others weren't. So please spread the word. I've never heard that. I've never heard that. Nobody has ever said to me, I was in the room when that was said, and I've asked over and over again. So I'm sorry. It's just one of those little hot button things that just tweaked me, and no big deal, because I know it's been repeated often enough, and it's one of those things that it becomes, oh, it must have been said because I've heard it 7 million times. Well, except that given, who I hang out with, if it had actually been said, I'd know about it. I'm sorry. Please continue. I'm so sorry.
Back to Chicago. So, yes, on Saturday, the left Reverend Jackson engaged in one of his favorite events. He had a rally outside a store called Chuck's Gun Shop in Riverdale, Illinois, which is essentially the Chicagoland area. And he said, and I'm going to quote here, "There's no place in this city for AK-47s. There's no place in these cities for automatic weapons." Okay, well,
where should we start?
NFA items, other than short-barreled rifles, but fully automatic firearms and suppressors are currently illegal in the entire state of Illinois. We're working on suppressors right now. However, fully automatic firearms are already illegal in the state of Illinois. And the semi-automatic version of the AK-47 is illegal in Chicago, pursuant to the Chicago so-called assault weapons ban, which has been in place for many years. So I suppose you could say that he's right, that there's no place in this city for an AK-47 because it's illegal in that city and has been for quite some time.
So what you're saying is the left Reverend Jackson is protesting against a law that already exists.
He's protesting about the fact that there isn't
anything to protest.
I don't know.
Oh my!
I have no idea.
Bolts wants to know, can the gun? I mean, and this would be in your non-legal opinion, but could the gun shop sue for harassment and damage to business? I'm not sure that they could. Basically, I think you have a right, your First Amendment right to stand on this public.
I'm not a lawyer. I believe they probably could, and good luck.
Right,
because they would have to do so in Cook County.
Yeah, and no.
Yeah. Well, but also
you want to
it's
talk
a
about
public sidewalk.
But Chuck's Gun Shop is the site of.
But if they were on,
they are the favorite location for these kinds of events in the Chicagoland area. Unfortunately,
but the sidewalk is public property. So as long as they're not on their property,
indeed.
So, and I don't know what Chuck's Gun Shop looks like, but I would imagine there is a sidewalk where these people stand.
I'm going to quote the comment from our state association, the Illinois State Rifle Association, from Mike Wiseman. Well, for starters, handguns are criminals' weapon of choice in Chicago, not rifles. And then when asked about the discrepancy between Jackson's AK-47 claims and reality, Wiseman grinned and said, "It's real easy when you've got a captive audience to get up and start talking."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was and I don't know who I gave it to. There was Mike, I think I gave it to you. There was I can't believe they said that. Or did we do that one already?
No.
Okay. Speaking of things we can't believe people say and do.
Speaking of the organization.
Nice segue.
Yeah. So I actually, it's not that one. Okay. I thought this was the other one. I thought it was the other organization, those desperate moms that have to demand action because they're, I don't know.
Make murder illegal. Listen to this. Dr. Blast 33. It makes as much sense as having a rally against murder. Make murder illegal. Make murder illegal. I love it. I love it. Yes, you're exactly right. I'm sorry. It was just very good. Oh. You got the producer's attention.
No, I was responding to something else.
Oh.
So this one's, I found it by way of Truth About Guns, and then it links to, whose article did it link to?
Well, while you're doing that, and Chuck's probably does quite a bit of business from free advertising.
So
let's hope so.
Once again, we've got the argument from emotion-based categorizations of things. The article that was linked from Truth About Guns is entitled, it was from Huffington Post,
Ugh.
Georgia's lax gun laws led to 2 fatal shootings of NYPD officers. What's interesting is that when we roll down through it is one of them, let's see, there was Dimitri, who's the most recent New York police officer killed, Officer Brian Moore, was killed by a 35-year-old male, convicted of attempted murder in 2001, therefore an illegal possessor of firearms. And apparently the Taurus 85 model that he allegedly used to shoot Moore was one of 23 firearms stolen from a bait and tackle shop in Perry, Georgia. Lax gun laws in Georgia.
A felon prohibited somehow acquires a piece of stolen property illegally.
Correct.
And then uses it to commit another crime. And
making more laws is going to make that better.
But like I said, it was a stolen firearm to begin with. So the lax gun laws applied to a stolen firearm. So what more laws are we going to impact about? I'm sure that the gun shop was probably locked and secured and alarmed and all that crap, but we don't have laws that say you have to keep 24 hours.
I don't have Georgia as one of my states, but I'm pretty certain that stealing a firearm is still a crime there.
Exactly. So
also B&E, probably also a crime in Georgia, I'm thinking.
So it's just like the reason for pulling it up was just yet another loosely emotional argument with no statistical or logical proof that these are related to any of the gun laws.
Speaking of statistical and logical proof.
Oh God.
Yes. See, we're segueing very nicely
tonight.
Found out who Evicted is, by the way.
This comes from NRA-ILA.
Thank you, sir.
And this is talking about, and this is an argument that I'm sure we've probably all heard in the past, when you want to compare firearms and cars.
Yes.
Last year, the Center for American Progress asserted that, quote, gun deaths are on track to surpass motor vehicle traffic deaths for people under age 25, unquote. Well, if you...
I love when she does that because we know where we're going, baby.
If you
look the hell out.
Actually look at the CDC final report on death statistics for 2013, there were 35,369 deaths from motor vehicle accidents versus 505 deaths from the accidental discharge of firearms. You are therefore 70 times more likely to die in a vehicle accident than through the accidental discharge of a firearm. From 1981 through 2013, which is the first and last year of data reported by the federal government, deaths due to accidents involving so-called unregulated firearms decreased 73%, while those due to accidents involving the highly regulated motor vehicle industry decreased only 31%. 2/3 of the decline in motor vehicle accident deaths occurred during the last 6 years, a half century after Congress imposed the National Traffic and Motor Vehicle Safety Act, authorizing the federal government to dictate how cars should be manufactured and roads should be constructed. The only way that the number of gun-related deaths compares to the number of vehicle accident deaths is if vehicle accident deaths are compared to the grand total of suicides, murders, defensive homicides, legal intervention homicides by law enforcement officers, and the relatively small number of firearm accident deaths. And then this is my favorite part. That math is as slippery as a garage floor mopped with 10W30. You know, what I always think is interesting is that if you've never read the book Freakonomics, which is truly a fantastic and very interesting book, they use very robust economic statistical analysis to look at a number of myths and perceptions and conventional wisdom. And one of the things they looked at is this notion that having a firearm in your home is somehow inherently dangerous to children. And what they found is that having a swimming pool in your home is far exponentially more dangerous than having a firearm in your home in terms of whether or not your child is likely to be seriously injured or killed. And I'll tell
I
you
went
that
for the double whammy, huh?
You really did. But I'll tell you, as the mother of 2 small children, swimming pools scare the hell out of me.
Well, there's a reason we didn't put in a diving well.
Swimming pools scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
My firearms are properly stored, and I have no concerns that the children are going to improperly access them and injure themselves or others, but I have every concern in the world that they are going to somehow slip out a door without anyone noticing and quietly fall into a swimming pool and drown.
When you put in a pool in the state of Maryland, I don't know what it is in Virginia, but they give you the door alarms. So the door opens and an alarm sounds, and you can turn the alarm off, like if you're sitting out on the porch or something like that. But
still scares the crap out of me. I mean, children have drowned.
And yet I managed to raise
children
5 children in this house.
in swimming pools while there were adults swimming in the pool with them.
I think
I'm just saying.
That's unlikely in your case.
That's true. I'm just saying. Swimming pools, way more scary than a fire.
So Bolts wants to say, speaking of this stuff, I demand, and I thought this was a great comment, I demand car qualification license, training, licensing, severe restrictions, no scary features on cars, and engine capacity limits.
And you're not allowed to have a black car.
Because they're evil?
Black cars are super evil,
super dangerous.
They're way more dangerous than a Woody car.
Bolts, I can't read that on the air.
It's after 9 o'clock.
Oh, that's true. It is. Accidental discharges cause unwanted children. I mean, my daddy's gonna yell at me. Yes. And if you didn't see the look on her face, it was priceless.
On that note, speaking of safe storage, and I'm going to tell it.
There's a segue.
I'm going to tell a terrible story about myself here.
Oh.
So the other day, I was getting ready to leave to go to an event, and my husband had left to take the children to the playground. And so I knew that I was alone in the house.
Oh, yeah.
And I was upstairs, and I was getting ready, and I heard the door downstairs open. And I did not hear my kids yelling. I didn't hear my husband going, "Hey, honey, I forgot something." So I'm like, okay, this is not good. So I went to the safe, which has an electronic lock on it. And I went to go open the safe, and I discovered that the battery had failed.
Oh, shit.
And in this moment of, oh crap, there might be somebody in my house, I had a complete and total brain fart and totally forgot that there's a manual override. So now I'm going, uh-oh, wouldn't this be ironic if I end up getting raped and murdered in my own house because my firearms were appropriately stored and locked up? And then fortunately, I remembered that we had taken the shotguns out to the range recently, and that I could go get one of those. And it was the wind, of course.
Club somebody over the head with it because you couldn't find the. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't start. Don't start. Evicted. He's trying to set me off. Day one. He's just picking at me. Yeah. So.
And then
I
changed the batteries in the safe.
Hey, and speaking of which, speaking of picking on people,
Yes.
Did you know that there's somebody in this room who I will not name, but who is not proficient with a shotgun?
She should know that. I've made comments about it before in front of her.
We need to do something
Define
about that.
proficient.
I
have actually never fired a shotgun.
See? We need to fix this. And soon.
Why the hell were we not at Pintail Point today?
Because you didn't get here until a little bit later. So
well, if I'd known there was a Pintail Point in the offering.
All right. Next Wednesday, I'm down. Actually, that would be the perfect opening to the grand packing up. Come here, shoot up, do what you got to do, and then
not shoot up. That's an entirely different activity. I'm
not talking to bolts.
That is a prohibiting activity.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God. Anyway.
And on that note, paraphernalia was decriminalized the other day.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
That's
great. Bolts, don't pick on him. He was a Marine and a competition shooter too. So I wouldn't take him on the range. I really wouldn't.
I was about to say, because if we're just talking about proficiency with a shotgun, I don't make any claims of my own either. So.
But
I have at least fired one
I was,
more than once.
I was pretty sure he'd never fired one, but I wasn't willing to go out on a limb like that.
I'm secure enough in my manhood. Yes, I have never fired a shotgun.
But I wasn't sure I remembered that you'd never shot one.
I mean, I did go dove hunting, and
Did you get a dove?
I got a dove.
There you go. That's more than my husband's done.
A dove.
So there you go. So we're going to have to take care of this, and soon. Because, I do have the awesome shotgun and you have one, and we
excellent.
Go take care of this. So you will be tortured.
Clearly, this is a reason I need to buy a new shotgun.
I like it. And if I had 15,
I was going to say, does that mean you're going to go buy the silver pigeon variety?
I think you should. You have to lead by example. That's right. And if I had $1,500 or whatever it is, I would buy my Montefeltro. But in the meantime, I will clean off the mud off my composite.
Oh, trust me, Bolts. I know you're just jerking my chain.
So, but anyway, so yes, I wanted to bring that up because I forgot to tell you. And now that we're here, we must plan for this. So we'll have to look at your schedule next week and see if you have to go to Delaware.
Illinois.
You have to go to Illinois.
Probably.
Crap. Well, we're
trying to get suppressors legalized because it's absolutely ridiculous that hearing protection should be made illegal and that you should have to pay a $200 tax stamp, but that's not my wheelhouse.
Right. Well, let us hope that they either see the light or they postpone it a week.
At this point, we just want a hearing.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because apparently in the state of Illinois, they need to change their 8th grade social studies curriculum. And
I'm not the least bit surprised about
that.
The
how a bill becomes a law part is going to, bill gets introduced and then sits and waits for the legislative leadership to
get around to it,
decide they might.
Oh, it's like Delaware.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that is something that Maryland's got going for. Everything will get heard.
Yes. Yeah. Maryland does have that going for it. Every bill gets a hearing.
So, the last thing I have.
And you do have a question in the chat room that I want you to take a look at and
question in the chat room.
see if that's something we're going to bring
by
up.
not having the chat room in front of me.
Well, if you had your computer, don't know if you discussed this, but when would the community or Shannon suggest we get impatient about? Shannon, can I field this? Do you mind?
Please do.
Okay. That we get impatient about Hogan's lack of movement with the state police. I know that there are things going on, but nothing available for the community to see. Morpheus, there are things, there are discussions, but first of all, the guy got into office in January, okay, immediately went into session, had to figure out his cabinet secretaries. Pelosi has not been appointed that long. And then the riots broke out. So, lots to deal with that, not from my perspective, but I'm not governor, okay, but lots to deal with and things that took precedence. So just hang on. Just hang on. I really would give him you're not going to like my answer. But in my opinion, based on my personal experience, I give him, till next January, and then we'll see where we're at. I'm not saying it's going to take that long. I'm saying give him that long because shit happens. So just hang tight and be patient. We just that's all I can really say about that. I can only talk from my experience as staffer and campaign worker for various campaigns and watching how these things go and surmising what I do. I don't have any inside information. I'm not keeping anything from you. I'm just telling you, be patient. It didn't happen this way overnight. It's not going to get fixed overnight. And frankly, we got 2 pieces of cake yesterday. We'll be going back for more cake. So I sort of see this. If you weren't listening to the show a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the analogy of approaching legislation like a big piece of cake. In South Carolina, which is the article I was going to bring up, Nikki Haley is waiting for a permitless carry, which basically is not constitutional carry bill. It is a permitless carry bill. Basically, you want to carry? Strap one on. I can't believe nobody had a comment on that. But anyway, so
I can shoot you some links to some stories if you want.
Okay. All righty. So, but
For holster.
we're not guy. No, I knew that was what you meant. I absolutely knew that's what you meant. But so we didn't get most of the cake missing overnight, and we're getting slices of cake. So hang on and let's see what other slices we can get and give him some time. Okay, let's not get all up. Yeah, believe me, nobody's a bigger proponent for this stuff than the people that I hang out with. And speaking personally, and not for anybody that I hang out with or any organization, but based on my experience, be patient. And I would honestly, I think it's a fair thing to say, give him to January and see where we are. Because then he will have been in office a year and there will have been a chance for him to breathe. I mean, God, you get inaugurated, you go into session.
We just got our bills signed yesterday.
Yeah. So, cross your fingers and we'll keep doing what we do. And you guys keep, doing what you do and writing the emails, making the phone calls when we put out the word and listening to the show so we can update you and making sure that your information is accurate. And, we will, do our best to keep you in the loop. That was all I had.
Caps tied at 1 at the second intermission.
Yay. Okay. Shannon, you got anything else?
No, I did all my homework.
Can you go talk to my daughter now about doing her homework and actually turning it in?
Ouch.
Yeah. Anyway, she's 13. She knows it all. So yeah. And I don't know how to pronounce this, but goat,
oh God.
AKA GT. Hogan is working down the list as promised. Rate and tax repeal, tolls decreased, funding pensions, no tax on retired police and firemen. The budget overhaul took a big chunk, and he didn't even get what he wanted. They shoved that budget bill through with no Republican votes. So was the way I heard it, although I'd have to go back and look that up to be sure. So, right. Evicted, you are correct. He does support it. We'll see what that definition is. And I think we're good. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you have outtake stuff for us?
Yes, I do.
Oh, fabulous. I can't wait. Hey, but we'll be back next Wednesday, 8:00. And the chat link is always the same. I'll post as I always do, I'll post the link to the video feed in the middle of the afternoon. And we will see you next Wednesday. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Back in the safety's on, safety's on, safety's on. Hammers back in the safety's on unless it's a Glock.